Hi, it's Denise with My Practice Now. Welcome to Module 2 training video. Today we are going to be focusing on inventory reports, the dashboard, and the marketing. So let's go ahead and get started. You will find the inventory section of our software in the sixth icon on your menu bar, or if you have less items in your menu bar, it's going to be this tag icon and the name inventory. If your menu bar is hidden, don't worry, just go ahead and click on this tag icon and it will take you to our inventory. When you first click on the inventory, you are going to be able to search items. You can filter by all, inactive, kits, services, or products, which I'll mention those in just a few minutes. You have the name of your products, your services, or your kits under the name column. Then you have the price, the quantity if they are a product, if it's active, yes or no, a barcode because you can actually link a barcode scanner to the software. It will tell you what type of item it is, and of course, the option for you to delete. Here at the top, you have the new item button where you can click and it will allow you to create a new item. You also have the option to create a new kit. You can receive products from here. You can write off products from here as well, and then you can print an inventory list. To edit an existing item, you can click on the name and it will allow you to edit that item. I'm going to click on search and go back to my items window. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn the difference between a product, a service, and a kit. A product is an item that you sell within your practice for either your patients or the public. It can be something simple as water, or you can sell or supplements. It could be books, merchandise, anything that you hand out to your patient, that would be considered a product. If you need to keep a quantity of that, you have to enter it as a product because we don't have quantities for services. Now, what is a service? A service is, of course, a service that you provide to your client. It could be an office visit, a CPT code, a wellness program, any type of services that you will be providing your patients. And then a kit is a series of products bundled together. For example, when I'm going to check out a patient, I can select all of these items individually, or if these items are part of a wellness kit or a weight loss kit or a detox kit, I can come in, create a new kit, add all of the items that belong to that kit, and that way it's easier for me to charge them in the patient's ledger. If I create a kit, it's going to take me a couple of clicks. If I do the charges individually per product, it could take me up to 30, 40 clicks, depending on how many products you will be adding to the patient's ledger. So a product is an individual item that you keep a quantity of. A service is a service that you provide that also includes detox programs, wellness programs, laser treatments, etc. And a kit is a bundle of products so that you can do faster checkouts. Let's go ahead and create a new item. I'm going to click on new item and I'm going to click on type. I'm going to select either a service or a product. I'm going to go ahead and add a service. And in here, I am going to type, I'm going to do a Zerona laser package. You can do, like I said, CPT codes in here. You can enter any type of services in MPN. You enter the title, then it's going to ask you for your item cost. What's the difference between the cost and the price? Let's just say that my Zerona laser package is $1,200, but it really does cost me $600. Well, how do I know the cost of my service or my package? That's something that you have to do with your accountant and your office manager or the owner need to get together, because you have to estimate cost in light, in manpower, in water, any type of utilities, what is the rent, etc. So you can be very specific in your practice and know exactly how much it costs you to provide a Zerona laser package in this example, or you could leave it zero if you don't know. So although this is highly recommended, so that way you know where are your areas of opportunities in MPN, because you can actually calculate the revenue from the cost and the price, and then it'll tell you how much you're actually making in a profit. But if you don't know that, don't worry, just type zero. It's going to ask you if it's taxed or not. If you leave this blank and you just don't select a tax, when you add this service to your ledger, to your patient's ledger, there will be no taxes added. So if you do have to charge taxes for services or products, I always suggest that you come in and you select the tax that you will be linking that service to. If you don't see the tax amount in here, then you need to go to your admin settings under company info and add your taxes there so that it populates in this drop down. In this case, I'm just going to select my New Mexico sales tax because MPN isn't in New Mexico. If my Zerona package had a barcode, I could enter the barcode in here for a faster checkout. But because this is a package, I don't have a barcode, therefore I am not going to do anything. I can enter notes if I want to, or I could leave it blank. I will go ahead and select yes because it is active, and then I am going to click submit. There you go. I have added my Zerona package. Let me click on the second. There it is, Zerona laser package. It's $1,200, and that is how you add a service. If you need to delete one, for example here, test service, I'm going to come and delete this one. It's going to ask me, it will delete permanent. Do you want to delete it? Yes. Now, if you think, oh, well, I don't want to delete it because what if it affects my reports or any of my patient ledger? It will not affect it. It just hides it from the software. Now, let's go back to the new item and let's create a product. With the product window, it will ask you for the vendor, it will ask you for the item name, the quantity that you have on hand, what is your item cost, the item price, if it's tagged, the reorder point, how much do you want to keep in stock, the barcode, instructions, notes, if there's a schedule with that, and then of course if it's active. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's add a supplement. So I am going to come in and my vendor is going to be Best Supplement Brand. My item name is going to be Vitamin D. How many do I have in quantity now? As of right now, I have 12. What is my item cost? Well, if I purchase a vitamin D directly from my supplier, the vitamin D costs me $6. But my item price, is which I'm going to sell to my patients, is going to be 15. Again, you can change this to however you want. You can charge however you want. This is just an example. Usually people always double or triple the amount that they spent. Is it taxed or not? We don't tax supplements in New Mexico, so I'm going to select so I am not going to select a tax. And then it's going to ask me for my reorder point. What does this mean? It means that I want the software to notify me when I have 2 left. Why? Because I usually sell vitamin D often to my clients and I never want to be out of stock. So I want the software to remind me when I have 2 left. But I should always have 6 in stock. What's the difference between keep in stock and reorder point? It means that although I have 12 now, I should always have at least 6. But what if I am running low and I have to order? Well, I want to order more vitamin D from this supplier when I have two left because they're pretty fast in shipping and it'll be next day shipping. So there you go. So that is the difference between the reorder point and the keep in stock. Now, my barcode, I can do one thing or the other. I can actually come in and then I can enter the barcode number on my bottle, which I am going to type here 15732-185. I can enter the barcode number here, or if I had a barcode scanner, I could scan this barcode into here and go ahead and it'll pre-populate the barcode. Now it's going to ask you for the instructions. This is what goes or comes in the bottle. So for example, with my vitamin D, my bottle says 1 capsule a day upon arising. So as soon as you wake up, you have to take that capsule. All right. So I can make notes if I want to, or I can leave it blank. And then here where it says schedule, I can select whether arising, breakfast, lunch, dinner, with food, on an empty stomach, bedtime, and awakening. So I am going to select arising. And then of course it is active. You might ask me, okay, Denise, so why do I have to enter the instruction and the schedule? So let me give you a little bit of background information. When a provider adds this supplement to a patient's chart, this information will be displayed along with the vitamin or the product with the product that you selected. You can customize it because let's say that the bottle says 1 capsule a day, but you recommend 2 capsules a day. The patient is really needing vitamin D. So that is this is where it will pre-populate in the EHR. Now with the arising, if the patient has the patient portal app downloaded on their phone, the software will send this schedule to the patient's app and the patient will actually get notified to take their supplements. Once the patient downloads the app, it will ask them a series of questions around what time do they usually wake up, they go to sleep, they eat breakfast, lunch, etc. And so even if they have, for example, their Apple Watch, it will send them a push notification that says, don't forget to take your vitamin D upon arising. And so it's just a great way for you to engage with your patients and you can do it. If you don't like this option, you can always just leave it blank and it will not send that information to the patient. But if you like it, just keep it on here and that's how you add a supplement. I'm going to click on submit and there you go. I went ahead and added my vitamin D and it will have the vendor's name underneath. There's my price, there's my quantity, there's my barcode, and I can click and edit it. Now, when I click to edit a product, it will allow me to edit all of the information I originally entered. But here at the bottom, you have the option to click Sell Online for you to upload a picture, set up an online description, and then select the category of where this supplement belongs to in your online store. All of these titles or categories can be changed in your admin settings under the online store settings. So if you need to add more or delete categories, you can do so from here. So once you actually allow this to be sold online, patients will be able to purchase this supplement from their patient portal or from your online store or whatever is it that you're going to be marketing your store through the web. Always make sure when you come and add a product that you activate it if you want to be able to sell online. Enter the picture, the online description, and then the category. And once you're done, you can click update, and there you go. So I'm going to show you how it looks like. I just went ahead and click sell online. I'm going to click the online store settings, view store. And there it is. I don't have a picture, so it auto-populates a picture. It says vitamin D. I can click add to cart, and that same product that I just created in MPN, people will be able to purchase online. So let's go back to the inventory. Now, we added a service, we added a product. Let's add a CPT code. I'm going to click on new item. A CPT code is a service. So I'm going to go ahead and type the CPT code. And I always recommend that you put a hyphen and then the name of that or the title of that CPT code in case your front desk or your checkout person does not know what this 97124 is. I'm going to do therapy 45 minutes. I know that there are some CPT codes that do require modifiers. Because MPN is originally a cash-based practice management software, we don't have an option for you to put or add modifiers. You are welcome to put it under the notes, but once you add this charge to the patient ledger, I would show you where the modifiers would go. In this case, I'm just going to leave it blank like this. In this case, I don't need a modifier for this CPT code. I'm going to enter the price. And my item cost, let's just say it's $25. I am going to tax it and submit. So that is how you entered a CPT code. You can click on that. You can make any changes, add the modifiers under the notes if you need to, and you're done. Let's go back. And now let's add a kit. Remember, a kit is a bundle of products that you're going to be selling as a whole. In this case, I'm going to do best supplement brand detox. Okay, I'm going to click on the item, and for my detox, I have vitamin E, I have vitamin D, I have Calcom, I have Ensure, and probiotics. I'm just going to select these. If I made a mistake, I can change the product or just click remove. So once I do this, I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And there's your kit. There's that. Now, you might be asking, well, where do I enter the barcode? Where do I enter the price of this kit? The price of this kit is based on the cost of each individual product. So the kit is just basically a faster way for you to check patients out, but it does not necessarily replace supplements from here. Why? Because you're creating kits based off the inventory count that you have with each individual product that you're selling. That is why it's not asking you for a price. If you click on here, you'll see the name. You won't see a price. You won't see a quantity. And of course, you'll see if it's active. The barcode will be null. Why? Because this kit only helps you check patients out faster. So instead of you having to do this manually with each patient, all you're going to do is find this kit, add it, and then all of these will be added to the patient's ledger. Okay, so now that we know how to add items and kits, we are going to receive products. Every time you make an order and you get a shipment, instead of coming to the product, updating the quantity here, and then coming down to click update, the easier and the faster way is if you click on this button that says receive product, You're going to select the item or scan the item. You can type as well. With a scanner, if you have a barcode scanner, you can scan the barcode in the bottle that you're receiving. And so that way, instead of you having to come click on the drop down, select that product, and then you would enter the quantity that you received. In this case, I received 1 Calcom. And I had 17, so I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And now my quantity is 18. So that is how you're going to be receiving products. If you're going to be receiving products more than one, so you select that one, you add the quantity, you click submit, you click on receive product again, you select the product, you select the quantity, and click submit. So that is how you are going to be receiving product. And just to be clear, when you click on receive product and you click on the quantity amount, it's the quantity that you are receiving. It doesn't mean that you're going to do 29 plus 5 because I received 5. Then no, you're going to enter the amount that you are getting in your new shipment that you just received. So the quantity here is what you're receiving, not what you're receiving, plus the amount that you already have in MPN. Now, let's just say that you received a shipment, you are updating your inventory, but you notice that a bottle is broken. The seal is broken or it's torn and you can't sell it that way. So you're going to come to the write-off section. You're going to select that item and say, okay, I'm going to write one off because I have a broken bottle, and click submit. And so what that does, it's going to deduct from your inventory that broken bottle. This is extremely important so your inventory can stay up to date. Let me give you an example. Let's just say, for example, here that I have 28 vitamin Ds, but the doctor is always recommending vitamin D, and sometimes he will give a vitamin D pill to the patient while they're there. So that would be considered office use because you're not going to charge that bottle to each patient. So the doctor would pull aside a bottle, leave it for office use it among the office or whatever purpose. So because you're not making any profit out of that bottle, you have to write it off. So I'm going to click on write off. I'm going to select my vitamin D. I'm going to select one. And the reason, you can say office use and click submit. The reason why you want to do this is because we always recommend that you do a monthly inventory physical count. So every month, either the beginning of the month or the last, let's say Friday of the month, which is most of our clients, what they do, they'll go into, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes, they'll pull the report, they will do a physical count, and what you have on your shelf is what you should have in MPN. If there are bottles missing, it doesn't mean that the software is glitchy or it's not calculating it right. What it means is that there is a bottle that was either taken by a patient without you noticing, which is, you would be surprised how many times that happens. Maybe it's for office use, it broke it, something happened and it got misplaced. So then when you notice things like that, you need to come in and write it off. Why is it important to write inventory off? So that you don't have to pay taxes on that. At the end of the year, you have to give an inventory to your accountant to see how much taxes you're going to have to pay of all of the products that you have left for the year. So instead of having to pay for items that you use throughout the year or someone took or whatever the case may be, then it's always best that you do monthly write-offs if that is the case. If you can't find supplements and you're 100% sure you had 10 and now you have 18 and you can't find 2, then you're going to come in, you can write it off, and you could say misplaced or broken, office use, whatever is that expired. If your bottles are expired, go ahead and write them off, because again, you don't want to pay taxes for that. If you need to print your inventory list, you can click on print, but it will just give you a printout of your inventory. This is not what you use to do your physical count in MPN. I will show you that in just a few minutes. You can also click on different pages if you need to. And now let's go to the reports. The report is going to be the 7th icon on your menu bar. If you have all of your icons available, you can expand your menu and you'll see the reports here. If you don't have this report icon in your menu bar, you have to speak to your office manager or to the owner so that they can give you access to reports. Let's click on reports. So in the report section, you have a bundle of financial reports. Then you have a bundle of inventory reports. You have statistics and you have staff reports. So let's start with the first report. In the finance section, the first report is the date range summary. This report is what most of our clients pull daily to check out and make sure that every patient was charged, that every patient was arrived, etc. So you can select to one specific date, or you can do a series of date ranges. So in this report, if you wanted to see what you made for last year, you could come in, select January 1st till December the 31st and run that report. In this case, I am only going to focus on today's reports. So I'm going to go ahead and click today's date. I'm going to click run. So as you can see, it opened a new tab. It's going to tell you the total of patients arrived. If you see that you should have had 20 patients arrived, but you only have 18, that means that there are patients that were not arrived. So you need to go back to your calendar and check that out. So you'll see your total cash payments, check payments, Visa, MasterCard, all of your credit cards, and then all of the payments that you added yourself that are either excluded or included. What's the difference between an excluded payment and a non-excluded payment? A excluded payment does not count as income. The not excluded payment does count as income. So for example, this one is total adjustment payment. So if I made an adjustment to a patient's ledger because I needed to write it off or whatever the case may be, I just needed to make an adjustment, that is not considered income. That's just considered, I am just adjusting a patient's ledger. So therefore, this should be counted as excluded. But total care credit payments are counted as income because you are receiving money. So therefore, it is not excluded and it will be counted as income. So all of these payment methods are created by your staff or by your practice. So you can go into your admin settings, payment methods, and either delete the ones that you don't want or keep adding the ones that you need. So there, you'll have a total of all of your payments excluded and included. You'll have the total revenue. Then it will deduct the refunds that you did. If you click on the refund, it'll give you a drop down of all the refunds you made. And then, of course, it will give you the total revenue. This total revenue is what you should receive on your bank account the next day because we do 24-hour funding. So whatever you see on here, excluding the payments that are not counted as income, or if you see total care credit payments, well, of course, that is not going to show on your bank account from us, on your bank account from us. So what you see here, if you're using 100% of your income through MPN, then it'll be on here. If not, you can just basically focus yourself on the subtotal credit cards, and then that way you'll be able to reconcile your bank account with My Practice Now. If you need to print this report, click print at the top, and it will print off your report. If you need to save it as a PDF, click print, select the destination for your printer as save as PDF, and then save it as a PDF. If you click on the titles, it will give you a drop down of all of the patients who did cash, all of the patients who did checks, etc., etc. So if, for example, you're like, I'm missing something. I'm missing $100. I don't know where it could be. Well, you could click on the titles and find out if you have a check $100, but and your check balance is showing zero. That is how you reconcile. You're going to reconcile your cash from what you have on count to what you have in MPN, the checks as well, and then the credit cards. If you're using MPN, should be something seamless because you already have you did all of your payments through MPN. So a quick summary, the date range report is pulled by the date range that you specify. It will give you the total patients arrived, you total payments categorized by cash, checks, credit cards, and the excluded or non-excluded payments. Excluded payments means that it does not count as income, and payments that you added by yourself that do count as income will not be displayed in yellow and it will not show the excluded. The revenue here will then be deducted by the refunds, and the total revenue is what you should have in your bank account the next day if you have merchant services with us, because we do 24-hour funding. This report you pull daily to make sure you're balanced for your day. So let's talk about the payment summary. The payment summary is also a date range report that you can run. It's very similar to the date range report, except it will tell you where your income came from. Did it come from services, products, credits? It will give you the grand total here at the top. So every time your grand total should match your date range summary. You can actually export this report into an Excel spreadsheet. You can just click the Excel, it will download that Excel spreadsheet, and you can print or save as a PDF. When will this payment summary be needed? Some of the clients like to keep the funds that come in through the credit as reserved income. So the amount on here is what people like to keep in their bank account in case there needs to be a refund or something happens, because credits means the patient paid up front but has not received anything back for services or products. So this is why a lot of our clients pull this report to make sure that the total of the credits that you collected for the month or for the year or for whatever reason are still in your bank account in case you need to give that money back. The batch report is also date range. You select the date, click run, and it will give you the batch number, the batch ID, the settle time, the transaction, and the amount that was charged. Example, in this case, this is the batch number. If I have any questions about it, I can call my merchant company and they will ask me for my batch number. So this is it. You can click on the batch number and it will give you the reference number, the date, the type of card, the account number, or the last 4 digits of the card. If it was a transaction, if it was approved or denied, the approval code, the amount, and then of course the batch ID, which is the same. And to go back to the other report, you just click on run. It will go back to show you all of the batch numbers with the total amounts. The batch ID is also something that your merchant services might ask you if you have any problems with your batch. The settle time, which means that at 7 o'clock every day, my batch settles. So anything after 7 o'clock that I process will be deposited the next day. If your office closes at 7 o'clock and you don't want it, you want to have a little bit of room and you want the settle time to be 9 o'clock, then you can call your merchant company and they can change this for you. But it's usually always 7 o'clock. And then it will give you the total transactions so that you know how many transactions you ran You should have 1 receipt for this day. You should have 5 receipts for this day. Now that you have the terminal, you should be able to compare and balance your batches. And then the net amount is what is going to show in your bank account, and it should be the whole amount. Our merchant services do not deduct anything before depositing. They will deposit the whole amount so that you can balance your QuickBooks correctly, and then they will then draft your fees at the end of the month. If it is in a parenthesis, it means that you gave a credit or you gave more than what you received. So this is what your batch report looks like. You can export it to an Excel, you can print it as a PDF, or you can also print it right directly from here. If you have more entries than what you want to show, then of course there will be more pages there. So this is what the batch report will do for you. Next, we're going to look at the credit balance summary. The credit balance summary is just by one specific date. You're going to click run, and it's going to tell you all of the patients who have a credit balance. What is a credit balance? It doesn't mean that they owe this credit, but it means that they have given money up front for services they have not received. This is the same as the payment summary, except it only shows you the credit balance and not the products and services that were paid. This is what the title says, credit summary. It gives you a summary of those that have credits in their ledger that could potentially turn out as a refund. So this report is extremely important because if you know that John Doe has not been in the office for a month, what does that tell you? That John Doe is going to remember, hey, I gave $1,000 to the practice and I haven't been back. I'm just going to ask for a refund. So what I would suggest you do is that you call John and you engage him back in your office and say, hey, let's get you scheduled. Let's do this. Let's get that. You need to do whatever it takes so that this credit balance can go down and the patient can receive services or products for that credit. You can show more than multiple entries. You can see the grand total at the top. You can search by patient if you have a long list of patients with credits. This is not going to show you the banks. This is a completely different report. If you want a bank report, we will see that in another report. This is just credits. You can export to Excel, you can print as a PDF, and or you can print directly from the software. Next, we have the aging report. The aging report is also pulled by one specific day. So for example, if you want to know all of your patients who owe you from a 30, 60, 90 day period, you can pull that report, click run, and it will show you the last name, the first name, the current, what is current? It means that they currently owe you, that it hasn't passed the 30-day mark, or the 60-day, or the 90-day. If this is a 90-day plus, means that the patient owes you for more than 90 days, and you can either send them to collections or send them a letter. So usually what accountants do is they will pull this aging report and they will send a printout 30 days within a 30-day notice. So they'll go ahead and click print Jane Smith's invoice that owes them for 30 days, and then for 60 days, and then for 90 days. It will give you total balance at the bottom. It will show you the amount. And then here at the total, gives you the total per line item and a total at the end for all of the patients who owe you. So in this case, this is the amount that is sitting there for you to collect. So you have to be careful and make sure that patients do pay for their services. The way you can find out what they owe from is that you can click print. And there it is. The patient owes you from September, a detox program. The price is $6,000. It's $6,000 due. She owes all of it. She hasn't paid for any of it. So you always have to make sure that you can collect that payment. You can search a patient. If you have a lot of patients that owe you, you can export it to an Excel spreadsheet. save it as a PDF, or print it. If you have multiple entries, you can show multiple entries or just click on the previous or next tab so to go from one page to the other. So let's look at the sales tax report. The sales tax report is by date range. You can exclude the non-taxed items by just clicking on the box, and it will show you this green box with the white check mark. I'm going to go ahead and leave it unchecked for now. And you can select for just services, for products, or for products and services. I'm going to click Run. First, it's going to show you the title, and it's going to tell you that it's a cash basis accounting. If you're not doing cash basis, you need to come to your admin settings under company info and change that. But in this case, I do have cash based. It's going to be giving you the date range from the 1st to the 28th. It'll give you the amount before taxes, the total tax exempt, the total amount of tax collected, and the total amount revenue. So this total amount of tax collected is the amount that you need. If you look here at the bottom, you can show between 10 and 100 entries. You can search an item, you can Excel, which means exporting to an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, or print it. Here at the bottom, you'll be able to see the item, the subtotal, the amount tax exempt, the amount collected, the tax rate, and the amount revenue. So the revenue is what you made from your profit. So if you click on this arrow, it will give you the client who did that search. It will give you the client's name, the date, how they paid by, and the amount that they paid. You can hide it by clicking on the arrow again. So it will give you the subtotal at the bottom. So let's look at the sales tax report. The sales tax report is by date range. You can exclude the non-taxed items by just clicking on the box, and it will show you this green box with the white check mark. I'm going to go ahead and leave it unchecked for now. And you can select for just services, for products, or for products and services. I'm going to click Run. First, it's going to show you the title, and it's going to tell you that it's a cash basis accounting. If you're not doing cash basis, you need to come to your admin settings under company info and change that. But in this case, I do have cash based. It's going to be giving you the date range from the 1st to the 28th. It'll give you the amount before taxes, the total tax exempt, the total amount of tax collected, and the total amount revenue. So this total amount of tax collected is the amount that you need. If you look here at the bottom, you can show between 10 and 100 entries. You can search an item, you can Excel, which means exporting to an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, or print it. Here at the bottom, you'll be able to see the item, the subtotal, the amount tax exempt, the amount collected, the tax rate, and the amount revenue. So the revenue is what you made from your profit. So if you click on this arrow, it will give you the client's name, the date, how they paid by, and the amount that they paid. You can hide it by clicking on the arrow again. Now, most clients like to exclude the non-taxed items because they really don't care to report the non-taxed items. There will be a difference if you click on the exclude non-taxed items and you run the report, and you'll see what? You'll see the amount is $3,171 and $173.25, which is the amount revenue, right? Before taxes, then the amount collected on taxes, and then the total revenue. This should always match your date range report unless the date range report includes payments from credits. Let me make sure I am going to explain myself correctly. This report is showing you products and services. That means payments from products and services. If a patient pays for a credit, you haven't told the software that credit goes to a product or a service. So therefore, when you try to pull the report and you're like, hey, my amount revenue here is not matching my date range report, that's probably because the credits are not being accounted in this sales tax report, because this report shows you only products and services, not credits. Why does it not show you credits? Because you don't know, you haven't told the software that money that people paid for a credit, whether it's going to a service or a product, that is taxable. So that's for its reserved income. You're not taxing it yet because you haven't applied it to a service or a product. So what most of the clients do is they will click on exclude non-tax items. They'll click run. You'll see the amounts are different because now you're only showing those that are taxable, the products that are taxed. So you'll see the amount before taxes, the amount collected, which is still the same, and then the total amount revenue. But it's not matching your date range report because this is only the amount that you collected taxes on. We're going to go ahead and click run the report, and it gives you everything else that we discussed. So just to summarize, if you go in and you try to match your total amount revenue with your date range report and it does not match, look at your date range report and look for payments that were paid through credit. And the reason why, it's because they were not assigned to a product and a service yet. So that is why it's not showing in your sales tax report. It's not being taxed, or it's being taxed because you don't know where to apply it to yet. Let's take a look at the recurring overview. I'm going to click run, and what does this report give me? It gives you all of the cards that are on a recurring schedule. You can show multiple entries depending on your list. It will show you the name, the first name, the period. What is period? Monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, the amount, the card used. It will give you the last 4 digits of the card, when that recurring payment started and when it will be ended, and if it was processed. So this report will help you keep track of those who are about to end on the recurring payments, if they have paid everything on, or if they still have anything to pay. Of course, you'll be able to contact the patient and either add a new payment method or ask for an upfront payment. You can search by patient, you can export it to an Excel spreadsheet, PDF, or print it as well. You have previous and next page buttons here in case you have multiple pages, but you can always show up to 100 entries, and most of the time that will save you from clicking from one page to the other. Let's take a look at our bank report. The bank report is by a specific day. So let's select the 28th of February. We're going to click run. It will give you the title at the top, the date you selected, and it will show you, of course, the option to select multiple entries. It will show you the last name, the first name, the bank, the original amount of the bank, and what they have left in their bank. So this report is going to help you to also keep track those that are kind of static or have hit a plateau in their wellness program or the package that you sold them. Because if they have, for example, $1,000 for their IV package and they've only used $100, and you know that Mary hasn't been in for the past month, well, this could potentially turn into a refund. So you always want to make sure that patients keep eating up their balance, so that way they receive their products, they receive their services, they're compliant to your programs or your packages, which means that you will not be able to give a refund. You can search You can export it to an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, and you can also click details. What does this mean? It will actually allow you, and I'm going to go ahead and open it so I can show you. So the details will show you why they have that balance. If they had a $2,000 original amount balance, but they now have 1,982, well, you need to find that other amount and it will be displayed on here so you know what products and services they received based on the balance that they have left. And that is what our bank report will do for you. Our next report is the new banks report. The new banks report is on a specific date range. We'll go ahead and select the 1st to the 28th, and we're going to click Run. So the new banks report is going to give you a list of all of the banks that you have created, not necessarily linked to a client or a patient, but that you have created in your admin section. So based on this date range, it's going to give you the total amount for the banks that you created. If they don't have a total, that means that you did not specify an amount when you created this bank. So for example, I have all of these banks that were created in my admin settings and the total amount. Why would I use this report? Sometimes clients add different wellness packages, different programs throughout their lifespan in MPN. And so sometimes clients need to pull a report to see what they probably missed when adding new packages or programs into MPN. So this is the report that is needed just in case you want to verify that all of the banks that you have available for programs and packages are available. You can search an item, you can print this report. It will give you the total, like I said, of the defaulted amount that you preset, and you can show multiple entries or select from previous or next date. Let's take a look at the used banks report. This report is by date range. I'm going to click Run. It will give you the title, the date range, the total banks used, and the original bank amount. So you'll see here the patient's last name, the first name, what bank they used, the amount they used, and the original amount. This report is very similar to the bank report, except this report is by a date range and the bank report is only for one specific day. That is the only difference between the bank report and the used bank reports. So now let's take a look at the bank balance report. It's by a specific day. We're going to click Run. It will give you the title, the date you selected, the total balance in the banks. So this is what you should have in your reserved income in case anything goes wrong and your clients ask you for a refund. There's the last name, the first name, what bank they have, and the bank balance. I always pull this report to see how my patients were doing in their program. If I saw a balance that was high, and I knew it was for office visits, guess what I did? I would call Denise. I said, hey, Denise, let's get you in for an adjustment. Let's get you in for an office visit. Let's get you in for a lab review, etc. Why? Because I wanted to eat this balance off so I didn't have to refund it in the future if that's what the client was thinking of doing. So this report is very helpful so that you can know how to communicate and how to engage with your patients if you do not want to end up having to give refunds. You can search, you can download this information in an Excel spreadsheet, you can save it as a PDF, you can print it, you can show multiple entries if you don't want to have to go from previous or to the next page. Our next report is going to be the scheduled recurring payments. It is by a date range. You're going to click Run. and it will give you the patient's first name, last name, the date, the status, if it's active or not, and the amount that they still owe. This report is also very similar to your recurring overview, except it is by a date range and it only shows the status if it's active and the amount. If you want a more detailed report, you always have to come and pull the recurring overview because it will give you more details, and it is not date ranges, which is why we have the scheduled recurring payments report. Our next report is going to be the scheduled recurring charges. The scheduled recurring charges is by date range, and it is very similar to the recurring payments, except in MPN, you cannot only schedule recurring payments, such as it's going to take money away from the patient's credit card on file, but you can also set up recurring charges. This is for monthly membership, VIP memberships, where you want to charge the patient in the ledger, like you want to add that item, that service, that product monthly or biweekly, however many times you want to recur that charge. It doesn't mean it's going to grab money from the patient's accounts or the patient's credit card, but it's only going to add it in the ledger. So that way you can then pay off the balance to avoid maybe patients getting upset because you're charging them for something that they probably are not receiving. So that's what you can do to create recurring charges. This report will show you a list of all of the patients who are in a recurring charge schedule. It will tell you the date, the first name, the last name, the charge, which is what if it's weekly, monthly, yearly, etc., and the amount for them that they have to pay linked to that charge. You can search, you can do by Excel, PDF, print, select from previous or next dates, or select multiple entries to show. The next report we're going to talk about is the income by provider. The income by provider report will give you a report of all of the income that came in that was linked to a specific provider. So let me show you what I mean. When you go to your patients and you add an invoice, you will have a drop down here at the bottom where you can choose which provider to link this to. This helps you if you are doing some type of commission-based salary, some bonuses for specific providers, etc. So when you add a charge, whether it's a product or a service or a kit, you can link it to a specific provider, and that information, once the product is paid, will show on your report. So now I'm going to go ahead and select a specific date range. So you select the date range. You can choose from a drop down of your providers. If you leave it blank or you leave it at the very top, you can run the report. It will still give you some information because these are the services that are not linked to a specific provider. So if you see something that you're like, well, what does this mean? It doesn't tell me which provider these services or products are going to. That it's because these services and products were not linked to a provider. Once you select that specific provider and you run the report, then you will be able to see what Dr. John Doe was able to collect from his commission or based on this report. So if you click on provider and you run the report and it gives you a list, again, that is because these charges were not linked to a provider. You will see the title if it's accrued or incurred, which is cash or incurred basis, the products and services, because that's the filter you selected. You'll have the date range and the grand total that sums up for all of these services linked to that provider, or in this case, no provider, so there's no provider selected. You can show multiple entries. You can export it to Excel, save it as a PDF, print it, you can search it, or navigate from previous to the next window. And it will show you the vendor information, the item, the type of item, the quantity sold, and the total paid for those items. So in this case, you can see that this 12-month detox program that is not linked to a provider was sold, and they sold two. There's the amount. Just to clarify, this report shows you income by provider, which means that these are the services that have been already paid. If you want to look for charges, that's another report, because there's a difference between a charge and income, which is money that you received. You can charge as many things as you want, but that doesn't mean that the patient has paid for it. Once the patient pays for it, then it will show on this report, because it is considered income. That's money already in your bank account, which then you can give commission based on that. Okay, so now let's take a look at our inventory report. The product inventory, if you click on run, you will see a list of the items, the vendor, the cost, the price, the quantity, and the reorder point. Remember, the item is the name of the product that you have entered in the software. The vendor is, of course, the company that sells this product. The cost is what you paid for. The price is what you charge your patient. The quantity is what you have in stock. And the reorder point is what you entered in the software to remind you when to order, in this example, Calcom. You can search by name. You can export this into an Excel spreadsheet. You can save it as a PDF and then print it. Again, you can show multiple entries and or navigate from the previous or the next page. This report just really gives you a total of the quantities that you have, but it's really not needed because there are other reports available where you can actually do your physical count and update your software with what you have in your shelves. Let's take a look at the inventory cost. This report is extremely important. You can filter by just services, by products, or just by products and services. And you can also filter for active and or inactive. In this case, I am just going to select all, and I'm going to select products and services, and I am going to run this report. Now, this report is what you want to pull on a monthly basis so that you can actually do your physical count. We always recommend that you do your physical count at the end of the month or in the beginning of the month so that your software matches what you have on your shelves if you sell supplements or any type of product. When you pull this report, it will give you the title, it'll give you the report date when you pulled it. It will give you the total cost, which is what you paid for to have these products on your shelf, the total price, which is what you should be getting once you sell these products, and then the total profit. After the cost, after everything that you deduct, then this would be the profit off of the cost that you have here. Now, because I have products and services, it's going to be a little bit different. You could take, there's no way I can make 280,000 off of $7 and off of 7,583 with 91 cents. The reason for that, it's because when it's a service, sometimes there is no cost. And this is something that you and your practice have to consider. Of course, there is a cost for you to do a 30-minute telemedicine conference, but you need to enter that. What would your cost be for having a 30-minute telemedicine conference? Well, that involves light, it involves staff member, it involves the software, it involves et cetera, et cetera. So then you can put in the price, and based on the cost of what it costs you, then you can set your price. So in this case, if they don't have a cost, of course, your total cost may not be as accurate as it should be. But the total price is what you charge the patient, and then the profit is, of course, what you get back. So here you can see that you'll see all of the items listed. It will tell you the type of item, if it's a service or a product. It'll give you the cost, the price, how much you should have in stock, the total cost, the total price, and the profit. So when you pull this report, if let's say your inventory is in the back or it's in the shelves, then what you do is you take an iPad, you take your phone, you pull this report up, and you're going to count. You're going to count. this case, you can go back and say, I'm just going to count my products because I don't account for my services. So there's my products. My list came down, and I'm going to go to the shelf, and I should have 17 Calcoms on my shelves or in your office. Let's say that you have 15. Well, you can enter 15. You don't have to save anywhere. You just tab and it will go down. You have 60 seconds to undo this. So I would recommend that before you actually enter the amount to update your stock, you are 100% sure that what you're entering is going to be the new number. If you have 15 in stock, which is the example I'm giving you, there are two that you need to account for. What happened to those two bottles? It's not that the software is glitchy or something's wrong with this report. It could be that maybe a bottle broke, someone picked it up without paying it, the doctor is using it for office use, it expired, whatever. So every time that happens, you always have to come to the inventory and write off that product so your inventory is accurate. But some people don't have the time to go in and write off every product when it breaks or something happens to it. So in this case, they would pull the report and they would come in and they would update right here and then go next to the next item. Okay, so in here I have 20 and yes, this is accurate. Next. And so it's actually very easy to update your inventory. This is extremely important because if you don't do your inventory cost on a monthly basis, you will lose money at the end of the year. Why? Because all of the supplements that you can no longer find, guess what? You're going to have to pay taxes from it. So instead of you having to lose money at the end of the year, just keep it up every month, do your inventory count every month, and any supplement that you do not find, write it off. So that way you don't have to pay. And so as you can see, it's very easy. Let's say, oh no, I found the other one. Oh, perfect time. And I'm going to go ahead and update it. What happens if you're like, oh no, I finally found the other one. It was put aside for a patient that never came to pick it up. You can always actually just click undo and start over and do 17. Or just if you already did it, type in the same number again and move to the next page. So that way it keeps up with the same inventory. You can search by product. You can Excel, save it as a PDF, print it. You can also categorize it by item name. If you click here, you can filter it by ascending or descending, etc. So this report again needs to be done on a monthly basis. Let's take a look at the product income report. The product income report is by a date range. You can select a specific date range here. I'm going to click run. And once you click run, it's going to show you the report. Gives you the title, the date range that you selected. It will show you the amount that is pending in credits, the total collected, and the total profit. Sometimes patients will pay you upfront for services and or products. When you enter a credit in MPN, the software does not know whether it's a service or it's to be applied to a product. So that is why the credits are separate from the total collected and the total profit. Because in this case, this is the product income report, which means all of the income that came from all of the products that you sold between this date range. If there's a credit amount, that's because you haven't assigned this money to go towards products or towards credit. So that is why it's showing you here. So in case you want to know the total collected and the profit, but it's not matching, it's usually because the credits are still in the air and the software doesn't know where to apply it to. You can show multiple entries. This report will show you the vendor because we're looking into products. So it will show you the vendor, the item, which is the name of the product, how many times you have sold this product, your cost, the revenue and the profit. So for example, this is the cost, this is what you charge the patient, and the profit is the revenue minus the cost. And so this is what you make off selling that specific product. When will this report be needed? If you're all about statistics and you want to make sure if your practice is actually being profitable and maybe it's time for you to increase your merchandise prices or your supplement prices, etc., this is a good report that you can populate and say, okay, based on my cost and my revenue, this is my profit. And based on my profit, is it profitable for me at the end of the year or the month? If it's not, then you have to make some changes on whether how much you charge the patient or find a cheaper supplier that will provide this product for you so that you can increase your profits. You can search, you can download into an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, or navigate through pages if you don't want to show more than 10 multiple entries. Let's take a look at the services income. The services income is also by a date range. You're going to click run. And this report is the same thing as the product income report, except it gives you the services. So it's going to give you the title, the date range, if there are credits pending, again, because when you receive income through credits, you don't know, the software doesn't know yet if that amount is going to go towards services or products. So this is money in the air that you still received as an income, but you don't know where to apply it to a service or a product. It's going to show you your total collected and your total profit. You can select from multiple entries to show. There's your item, the procedures, so which means the number of procedures. So if you have a chiropractic adjustment, you'll tell, based on this date range, it'll tell you how many adjustments you performed, the cost, the revenue, and the profit. Usually with services, clients don't establish a cost, but we highly suggest that you do so that you know how much actual profit you're getting off each service. It might be time for you to increase your fees. It might be time for you to reconsider your costs. So the way that the software can show you the areas of opportunity is through reports like this, because based on the cost and the revenue, which is the amount that you collected, it will give you the profit, and then you can go from there. Remember, this report will only show you services that were paid, and that's income that you received. It's not services that you wrote off. It's not services that you applied to a bank. It's services that you received income on. Like always, you can search, you can download into an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, and then select from multiple pages if you have more than 50, 10, 25, or 100 entries. Before I go into the products and service charges report, I want to make sure that you understand that the product income report will give you income that was paid for products. Services, of course, income that was paid for services. And the product and service charge report is charges that you applied on a specific date range. The charges means that you charge the patient, that you created an invoice, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's paid for. So let's go ahead and do the product and service charges. This report is by a date range, and you can choose to whether only show services that were charged, products that were charged, or products and services that were charged. If you want to include products and services that were added to banks, you can click and include banks. And let's go ahead and do that and click run. So of course, it's going to give you the products and service charges title. It will give you the date range and the grand total that you have charged in the software from products and services within this date range. You can select from multiple entries to show. It'll give you the vendor's name, the item, the type of product or service, how many you sold, and the total amount. This total amount, which then totals the grand total here to 260. This report will show you everything that you have charged. It's not showing you, or it's not telling you what has been paid and what has not been paid. This shows you everything that you charged. And let me just show you really quick. When you go to a patient's profile and you click on invoice, anything that you add to an invoice, even if it's not paid, it will show on this report. When will this report be needed? Well, you can pull it by a date range to see how much you have charged, which which in reality should be money that should be coming in into your bank account. You can search, you can download into an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, select from previous and next page. And so this is what the products and services charges report will do for you. The received products report is also by a date range. And this report is simply going to give you a list of all of the products that you received within this date range. You'll have the date of when you received it, the vendor, the item, the old quantity that you had before entering this product, then the new quantity and the total. You can search it, you can download it to an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, select from previous dates, and you can always filter by ascending and descending by clicking on these icons on top of each filter. So the way that you want your received products to show on this report is by going to your inventory and clicking on the receive button. So once you receive a product from here, from this window, all of the ones that you entered will then be showed on your report. The write-off report is also by a date range. You're going to click on run, and it's very similar to the received product report. It'll give you the title, the date range, the date when you wrote it off, the employee that wrote it off, the item that was written off, the reason why it was written off, then the quantity, the total cost, and the total price. This price is what you could have potentially made if you had not written off that product. And the way you want to show the products that were written off in this report is by going to your inventory and clicking on write off. When you write off an item in this window, so for example, any item that was broken, stolen, misplaced, for office use, expired, any type of supplements that you can no longer sell, you have to write them off. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay taxes at the end of the year. So this report will help you keep track how much you're actually losing by writing off reports that you could potentially be making and getting a profit off of it. You can search an item, you can download it to an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, select from previous or next pages. You can show multiple entries, and of course, you can filter by ascending or descending each filter. The reorder points report is a report that most of our clients use to order supplements. The report says it itself, it's the reorder report. You can pull this report, it'll show you the vendor, the item, how much you wanted to keep in stock, how much your order point was, what you have in hand, and what you should order. So this is a suggestion that the software gives you to order supplements based on what you have in stock, what your order point was, and what you actually have on hand. Of course, you have full control of what you order and what you don't order in your practice, but this will definitely help you to make sure you get as close as possible so that you don't overspend when it comes to your supplement ordering. You can search by item, you can export this into an Excel spreadsheet, you can save it as a PDF, you can print it, you can select from previous and next day pages and next pages, and of course, you can show multiple entries. The last inventory report is the inventory log. This report is by a date range, and you can select a product so that you can see the log of that specific product. Let's click on run. This report gives you the name, which vitamin you're wanting an inventory log on, the date range, it will show you the name, which is vitamin D because we selected vitamin D, the date it was modified, and what was the action. The product was changed. It was done by the username admin. The previous quantity was 27 and the updated quantity was 26. So this report is, for example, if you're interested in saying, I knew I had 27 vitamin Ds, but I don't know why it's showing 26 and I haven't sold any because my product sold report does not show that I sold a vitamin D. Well, you can pull this report and you can see that the admin user changed the quantity and the action. This report is really not needed unless there's a discrepancy in one specific product that you said, I remember I sold 10, I remember I put it in the software and I only have 8 left and it's not written off, it wasn't sold. I need to figure out where the other 2 products came. You can find it in the inventory log to see if anybody did a specific update on that specific vitamin. You can search, you can download into an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, select from previous and next dates. You can filter by ascending or descending, and of course, you can show multiple entries. Let's talk about the statistic reports in MPN. The first report is going to be the appointment stats. This appointment stats is by a date range. So you can select from any date range that you want, and then you can select a specific appointment type. So if I want to do an ROF, I can click on run, and it will give me the statistics of this appointment type by the date range I selected. It's going to tell me that 3 were scheduled, 0 were confirmed, 1 was arrived, 3 was canceled. It will show me the first name, the last name, the date of when this appointment was booked, the start time, and the provider. It will tell you here the total 3 scheduled, 0 confirmed, 1 arrived, and 0 canceled, which is the same information that you have here on the top. You can search by appointment type or by provider name, by start time or the date. You can export it to an Excel spreadsheet. You can save it as a PDF. You can print it. You can select from previous, etc. When will you be needing this report? This report is just really needed if you want to create or look at statistics based on comparing date range. What was your ROF stats last year versus today? Last month versus this month, etc. So this is how you can pull this appointment stats report and how it can help you grow your practice. The next statistic report is going to be your patient stats. You're going to run this report, and based on the date range, you can select the type of patient, the marketing type, the program status, the appointment status, and the appointment type. This is an amazing report because you can be very specific as, I want to know all of my weight loss patients that came from Facebook that did not sign up to a program that arrived to my ROF. So they came to your visit, they came to your report of findings, but they didn't qualify, which means that they didn't sign up to your program. You're going to click run, and it will show you all of the list of the patients that you have, so that just in case if you have a new method payment, or if you have a new program plan or a payment plan and you want to try to get them back into your office so that you can connect with them and they can finally sign to one of your wellness programs or come back to see you for whatever reason, then you can pull this report. And you can also be very specific as, I want you to show me those who have no future appointments. Example, you can select all of your patients from any marketing source that are not linked to a program status. It doesn't matter whether they sign up or not, but you want to know those who arrived to your new patient appointment. You're going to click run, and then you can click show with no future appointments, which means that these new patients actually came through the door. They were interested in your services, but did not come back. What happened? Did things fall through the cracks? Did we forget to call them? Did they cancel or no show their appointment, but they never made it back into your schedule? This report is an amazing report for you to engage with your patients. You can be very generic, like just selecting the arrived status or the appointment type, or be specific as to what type of patient, marketing source, program status, and then show or unshow the list with no future appointments. It will show you the last name, the first name, the date of birth, the email, the phone number, the marketing source. You can also search. You can export this spreadsheet, save it as a PDF, print it, select from previous and next dates, and of course, show multiple entries. This report is a must in your office. Let's take a look at the weekly stats. The weekly stats, it's also by a date range, which is a weekly stat. So we're going to do a weekly date range. I can select from Monday to Monday, from Monday to Friday, depending on the weeks that I select. I'm going to click on run. It will open a new tab. It will give you the title at the top, the date range that I selected, and I can actually enter based on the number of employees. It can give me my total collections, my revenue per employee. It can give me a list of all of my marketing source clients or leads that came in this week. And also tell me the number of consults scheduled, consults rescheduled or canceled, number of consults conducted, and number of patients signed. And based on the marketing dollars that I spent for this week, then it can give me my average case fee, my cost per patient, and my total visits for that specific week. This report is usually asked by business coaching associations or financial coaches that help your practice stay profitable. So my recommendation to you is that you actually use this. Even if you don't have a business coach, you have to make sure that your practice is always growing. And the best way that MPN can help you is through the statistics that you can obtain out of MPN. I do want to make it clear that the number of consults scheduled is based on the either you can select for discovery calls, for ROFs, you can bundle them together, or new patient appointments. How do you know which consults are going to be populating in this statistic? Let me show you. So on the admin section, under the calendar settings, every appointment that you have, in this case, I'm going to select ROF, it says here, include in ROF reports. The ROF appointment is defaulted to show in your weekly stats along with your monthly stats. But you may not like the ROF appointment type. You would rather call it new patient appointment or discovery call, whatever you like to do. Then any appointment that you create, even if you create a brand new one, will give you the option to check the option to include this appointment type in your reports, which means this weekly stat tracker. So if you notice that your stats are not accurate when it comes to consults, that is because you need to come here and make sure that all of the appointments that you want to track for that specific report have this checkbox included. Another thing I want to talk about is when it says here, number of patients signed. Well, how does the software know when the patient signs up to a program, or what are they signing up for? This is very important when it comes to wellness packages or wellness programs, such as laser treatments, injections, IVs, packages, wellness treatments, etc. The way that you tell the software when a patient signs up to one of your services is by going to your patient profile, clicking on edit, and going to program info. The program info will then ask you to select from the drop down if they signed up or not. You can enter the date that they signed up and the date that they're going to start their program. This state is what is then brought into this appointment of number of patients signed. So based on this date range that you selected, then your weekly stats will tell you how many patients signed up to a specific package or program based on the dates that you selected. So this is where that information is coming from. This weekly stat tracker will tell you the number of leads that came from specific marketing sources. And how does the software track that? When you add a new patient, it will always ask you what the marketing source is. So when you add that patient or that lead into MPN and you select the marketing source, the date that you created that patient, that's when the software will say, okay, total of new patients that came from Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. So that's how it's going to populate. Now, the total collections is of course the revenue that you've made this week. And the revenue per employee is brought in because it will divide the total collections versus the number of employees that you hand keyed in, and it will tell you the total revenue of the employees. And the same thing with the marketing dollars. The marketing dollars will tell you, okay, so if I spend $500 in marketing for this specific week, then that means that it will give me my average case fee, the cost per patient, and the total visits. This report is very helpful, so I really hope you take advantage of it. You can print this report by just clicking print, and you can also save it as a PDF after you select print. Let's take a look at the patient's birthday report. And I can select a date range, click run. It will show me the day range I selected, and it will show me the date of birth, the first name, the last name, the email, the street, the city, the state, zip, and phone number. In case you want to send postcards or call the patient on their birthday, you can do so. A lot of patients use this report on a monthly basis when they will write down, they'll get like greeting cards and they'll write something personalized to the patient. They will go ahead and stamp it, mail it to the patient based on the date of their birthday. So that's something that you can definitely do. You can always search a patient, export this information, save it as a PDF, print it. You can show multiple entries, and of course, you can select from previous and next date. And don't forget, you can always filter by ascending or descending on each filter. Let's take a look at the action plan. The title speaks for itself. It's an actual action plan that, based on a date that you select, you can run this report and you can enter a monthly goal and the goal you want for leads, for appointments scheduled, for appointments conducted, appointments signed, and referrals. So this would be your perfect scenario to have a great month. Then the next, which is something that you cannot edit, means it's the actual statistics. So what you have on your left is what you have decided that you want to make this month happen, and then the monthly goal. You have no idea how many clients we've had of great testimonials that they have started using this action plan to make sure that their monthly goals are met. Because in here, if let's say you have 10 referrals and you have 5 referrals left and you have 28 days, guess what? You're going to start calling people. When you see people on the street, when you see a patient, say, hey, do you have a referral that would you like to recommend to us? And so that way you can start working to make sure that you meet your goal. Every practice should be striving to be better each month. And the way that you can do this is through the daily action plan. So based on the days that you have left, and you can actually change, because you could say, well, no, Denise, I don't have 28 days left because I don't work Saturdays, Sundays, and I don't even work on Fridays. So that means I have like 18 days left. Okay, so change your days. And there you go. This is how you can make sure that your practice is growing and being more profitable than ever. You can print this report and you can also save it as a PDF once you select print. The next report is the patient follow-up. The patient follow-up is by a date range. You can click run. It'll give you the first patient, the last, the email, the phone number, the date of birth, and the last appointment that the patient had. So if you notice that the last appointment was from a month ago or from more than a month ago, you definitely have to follow up with that patient and see how you can get them back in the office. So this report is good. This report is very similar to the patient stats. So whether you use the patient stats, which I highly recommend, or this report, which is faster, and at a glimpse, you can see when the last appointment was, then you can definitely pull this report. You can search, you can export by Excel, you can print it, you can save it as a PDF, you can filter it, ascending or descending, and of course, you can select multiple entries and choose previous or next pages if you have more entries. Let's take a look at the patient programs report. The patient program report is also by a date range, but there is another filter that I need to explain before we run the report. If you want this, if you want a program report that within this date range filters with the start date, you need to select the start date. If you want this program's report to show you depending on the date range that you selected, the end date of those programs, then you select the end date. If you want to show both, then you show both. I'm going to select from way past, and I'm going to click run. So as you can see here, I selected the date range from January 1st, 2018 till today, and it will show me the patient name, the program name, the start date, the end date, the duration of the program, and how many days they have left in their program. This report is going to be helpful in case you want to know where the patient is in their program. Are they getting ready to finish their date, or did they just barely start? What happens if I just select the start date, which means that this date range will be based on the start date of the program. It shows me the same amount. What happens if I select the end date, which that means that based on this date range, I want to select the end date of my program. But if you notice, none of these dates are within this date range because all of these are future dates. And if I run this report, of course, it's not going to show me any information because the end date does not match the date range that I selected. If I were to go and select a future date, still select the end date, click run, it will give me the report based on the date range within the end date of my program. I can filter by ascending or descending. I can show multiple entries. I can search. I can export it to an Excel spreadsheet. I can save it in a PDF, print it, and select from previous or next day pages. Let's take a look at the marketing source report. The marketing source report is by date range. So once you click run, you can filter by all of the appointments, by a specific appointment type, and then it's going to give you a graph. It'll tell you, example, there's 31 patients who have no source, 109 came from Facebook, 55 from Instagram, 1 from other, 2 from postcard, and then of course the referral. So you'll be able to see here the graph that will show you where your leads are coming from. So this is the marketing source report. You can print this report and save it as a PDF once you click on print. Let's talk about the staff reports. The staff report have 2 reports in it. The staff tab has 2 reports in it. It is the timesheets that I can select by date range, and I'm going to click run. It will give you the title, the date range that you selected. It's going to give you the date, when they clocked in or clocked out, and the hours that they worked. So this will help you know how many hours your staff member worked. And you can click print. The last report is the user's to do. This report, if you run it, will give you a status of all of the open to dos, what it is, who it was assigned to, the due date, and the priority. You can show multiple entries, you can search, you can filter by ascending or descending, you can export to Excel, save as a PDF, print it, and go from one page to the other, or select previous or next. So now that we have gone over all of the reports available, our next thing is going to be the dashboard. You may have access to this first icon on your menu bar. You may not. It just really depends on your admin settings. But if you do, when you first log in, and if you're a provider, an office manager, or an owner, you will see this first page. It will show you the daily income, the monthly income, the quarterly income, and the annual income. It will give you a summary of everything that is happening within your practice through MPN. You will see an income graph, which will show you around what time you're making the most money. This is helpful because you might need to change your lunch hours, or you might open or close sooner or later. That's an option. You can check on your weekly graph, monthly, or even if you're going to be like doing an annual report, this is going to help you know what your lowest month of the year is, so that you can program your vacation during those times. So this report really helps you with that. Now, with the appointment types, it's also very helpful to know what appointments are being scheduled the most and which ones you need work on. The demographics page will give you an annual, monthly, daily, quarterly. The great thing about it that is, if you're like, no, I wish I could have it to where it says daily, monthly, quarterly, and income and annual like the top. So that way you can move it around and make it to where you want it to. The appointment stats are also something very helpful. So that way, you know, based on all of my appointments, I can know who actually is arriving, canceling, no-showed, if you will left a message, if they rescheduled, if they confirmed. Based on all of the appointments in a quarterly basis, well, what is your statistics? Maybe you have a lot of rescheduled, or you have a lot of cancellations, so you might need to change your cancellation policy. Same thing with your annual. And then you have here your birthday templates. If you want this, if you don't see anything on here, we have to activate this upcoming birthday template. So ask us through the chat to activate your birthday statistic. You will also see a widget that is going to show you recurring payments that are about to end. So that way you can pinpoint them and see, so that you can ask for cards on file. And then you have program statuses based on your today, weekly, monthly, or annual, what patients you have received from postcard, from Facebook, from marketing, etc. And then here at the bottom, you can see that there are chart notes created, but they have not been finalized, because you'll see this little lock that is open. That means that the chart note was created, but it was not finalized. So this is going to help you with the chart notes. It's a widget that helps you with, and that helps providers. You'll see this settings menu on your right-hand side of your screen, where you can actually uncheck things that you don't want to see and keep the ones that you do want to see. So you can go in and say, well, I'm not a provider. I'm not interested in looking at the chart list. I am interested though in looking at financials. And yes, I want to turn on my yesterday's income, my weekly income, the cards that are about to expire, the open charge report. So all of that can be created in MPN by turning them on. So that way you can see which ones you can activate or inactivate. So once you're done selecting the ones that you like just like I said, you can come in and move them around to see however you like it, however you would want, and organize them so that it's better for you to see it. There you go. That, and this is what the dashboard will do for you. Thank you for being so patient. We have one more module to go through, which is going to be the marketing. But before I go into marketing, you need to make sure that you do three things. Number one, go to the settings, under company settings, and if you have Synduit, you can link Synduit to MPN so that way you don't have to double entry any patient information into your Synduit software. If you don't know what Synduit is, it's just a marketing software, kind of like ActiveCampaign, like Constant Contact, etc. So you can link Synduit into NPN by sending us your Synduit information, and that way we can link it for you. Your next step would be to link ActiveCampaign to NPN. So we have created a bridge between NPN and ActiveCampaign. So any new patient that comes on board, instead of you having to double entry that information in the page in API, you can link NPN to ActiveCampaign. You can create tags, and you can even select an appointment status that will trigger a tag to automatically be added to the patient's profile in ActiveCampaign. It will only trigger if the patient has already been added to ActiveCampaign. So this is something that you need to do. And before I move any further, because once you link ActiveCampaign to NPN, there will be a tab that says ActiveCampaign here, just in case you didn't automate the triggers so that it automatically sends email campaigns to the patient. You can choose what campaign to send directly from NPN with that tab. But if you have any questions regarding our marketing, you can always go to our Solution Center and type ActiveCampaign. There are a lot of articles that will talk about ActiveCampaign, or example, MailChimp versus ActiveCampaign. What will Synduit do in NPN? So more information that can help you understand how you can maximize your marketing with all of these marketing softwares, including and NPN. But now in our marketing module, which you can send emails to all of your patients or to specific patients directly from the software. And let me show you how you do that. This marketing module is linked to MailChimp. MailChimp has free accounts up to 2,500 emails. So if you have more than 2,500 emails, you might have to pay for the subscription. Otherwise, it's free. The first thing you need to do is you need to come in and create a list. You're going to enter the list name, and then you're going to set up a reminder. This permission reminder is triggered when the patient asks why they are receiving that specific email. So this is going to help the patient understand and know that they're receiving that email because they're part of your patient list, and it's not just spam that someone sent them, that they obtained their email illegally. So this is what the permission reminder would say. I would recommend to put something in like, you are receiving this email because you are part of, and then your practice name, or you are a member of Dr. Doe, something like that. And then the subject line, this is really not needed. It's not going to be displayed anywhere in your email list. It's not going to show your patient, but MailChimp requires us to have a subject on the email list. So we always recommend that you copy and you paste the list name into the subject line. Once you create your list, now you're going to then create a segment. The difference between a list and a segment. A list is the name of the list that you're going to be creating, and the segment is the type of emails that you're going to be adding to that list. Let me give you an example. I can click on add segment and I can choose the list I create. I can add a segment name, which can also be the same list name. And I'm going to click on add members. Once I click on add members, I can select a date range. So for example, I want all of my patient list. So I would come in and I would create right from when I started using MPN till today. And then I am going to select the type of patient, which in this case would be all. And then I would select the marketing source if I want to, the program status, the program that they are signed up to, their appointment status, the appointment type, and the activity with no appointments or with appointments. So this email marketing is extremely important because you know how the patient stat reports gives you a list of all of the people that have not come back. Well, you can pull this same report and say give me a list of all of the people who have no previous appointments based on the filters that I created. And once I create add, I'll be able to add this segment of patients to my list. In this case, I am going to I'm going to unselect the activity. And let's just say, for example, once the emails populate, I can go through the list and says, you know what? No, Mary May is really not a good client for me to engage. She was unhappy, and I'm sure she would be upset if I send her an email. So I'm going to click delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes, because I don't want Mary May to be in this segment for my patient list because I do not want to email Mary. So there you go. You can clean your list and then you're going to click on add, and then now this segment is part of that patient list. What happens if you already created a list and you added segments, but from here on all the way into, let's say, 6 months, you need to update your patient list? Well, you can come in, you can create a new segment, but select the date range from today till the future. So let's just select July the 31st, run that report again, and then add those that you added in the software so that they can be part of your list as well. So this is definitely going to help you. And just remember, you can email patients that no-showed, that rescheduled. You can send marketing campaigns, etc. So once you created your lists and you created your segments, then you can click on Add Campaign. You can choose the campaign name. You'll be able to choose the list that you want to send that email to. You can also select from a segment that you create, and you can start typing your body. If you have templates created in MailChimp, you'll be able to select the templates to be brought over into MPN. Or if you just want a simple email that says 10% off all vitamins this month, and you're going to send it to all of your clients, you can definitely do so. Once you create your email and you click on send, you can save it or you can schedule it. So, for example, if you just want to save it because you're not done with it and you're going to walk away, see a patient, you can just save it and come back to it. But if you're going to schedule it, the software will ask you, well, when do you want this campaign to be sent? You can select the date. So you can select, for example, I want it to be sent at 7 o'clock so it'll be 7:15. And I know it looks weird. That's just the way MailChimp has us do it. And then you can just click schedule, which means that then tomorrow, I'm going to select tomorrow, which means that tomorrow, then at 7:15, this email campaign will be sent. You can schedule that, or you can just click send now, and the software will send it. that it takes up to 15 minutes for MailChimp to send your campaign sometimes. So in order for it to be accurate, so if you're excited about your email and you want to know how many people actually opened it and who actually clicked on it, etc., and you don't have to, and you don't want to go into MailChimp to see, just wait 15 minutes and then you'll come back and see the results. So there you have it. We went through all of the inventory, all the reports, the dashboard, and the marketing campaign. Thank you so much for sticking with me for so long. I just want to give all of the information and the knowledge I have so you're fully prepared and know how to use MPN to its fullest. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.